Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
We're working through some technical difficulties, so thank you for bearing with me. It's hard having one hand tied behind your back. So just a little bit of recap. We're talking about the wisest of women building her house, and we're going to go through this set of scriptures, and this set of scriptures is going to reveal to us a little bit more about what the house of light looks like, what it's supposed to be like, as well as it gives some characteristics about the house of darkness. So what we're going to do here is fill up this list, right? Fill up these two different sides of this board, right? What is the house of light or the kingdom of light like? What can we learn from it? And what do the verses reveal to us about the kingdom of darkness? Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and go through the first verse, Genesis chapter 1, verses 3 through 5, and verse 18.
And Elohim said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And Elohim saw the light, that it was good. And Elohim divided the light from the darkness. And Elohim called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. And to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And Elohim saw that it was good.
Okay, so one of the first things that stands out to me about what we can learn about the house of light is that God has established this. So he establishes the house with this first verse, right? And he calls it good. He said the creation of it, the establishment of this of the light, is good. The other thing that we see in this verse is that he separated it from the dark. So it's separated.
Set apart.
There you go, set apart. Okay. The purpose of the sun and the moon and the stars, right, going to verse 18, is the purpose of it is to rule, right? The sun is supposed to rule over the day, right? And the light is ruling, and there's some sort of rulership involved here. There's some sort of authority that's given. God has given some sort of authority to rule. Is there anything else that you guys can think of that comes to mind as far as the characteristics of the house of light or the house of darkness or the dark?
He never called the darkness bad.
He didn't call it bad? That's true. At the beginning, he does not call it bad. That's interesting. Okay.
Well, however, when he's clearly dividing light and darkness, he's not saying there's light, medium dark, darkness. No,
Right.
There's no grades in between. It's light or it's darkness.
Yeah.
So along the same line, if he calls the light good,
Yeah.
then what's the opposite of good?
Right. It would be bad. Evil. Yeah.
And he's not one to have grades in between.
Mm-hmm.
It's light, dark, good, evil.
Right.
So to me, it's like it's like a riddle. If you figure out the first part, you can figure out the second part.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So we'll go with that. We'll go with that. Yeah. Right. Because you can learn things based on what's said and what's not said as well. You can infer some things about it. Okay. Anything else? All right. Let's move on then. Let's go to Exodus chapter 10 and read verse 23. This is referring to the plague of darkness that Yahweh imposed on Egypt through Moses, right? Moses gave the word to Pharaoh, and this is the result, right? This is sort of one description with the light.
They saw not one another, neither rose any from his place for 3 days. But all the children of Israel had light in their dwellings.
So all the people of Israel had light in their dwellings, but the people of Egypt did not have the light in their dwellings. They literally dwelled in darkness. That was the plague. It was the darkness over the land of Egypt, but it didn't affect the people of Israel. To help us understand a little bit more, right, about this word for light, it's the Hebrew word is or. So we would pronounce it like you were going to pronounce like a mineral ore, right? 3 letters, the aleph, vav, and the resh. And this word that we're going through, this or, these are the places that it appears. This isn't every single occurrence where it appears. It's verses that I think reveals something about the house of light. Because one of the ways that you can interpret the word is also dawn or just brightness, right? And so the way that it's used in the context, you can be talking about the light of dawn. So when the sun is coming up, you're starting to see the or, right? And so the people in like the book of Samuel and Kings and things like that, they would talk about different times, and sometimes they would use this term, and they were using it in a context to refer to at a certain time of the day. But the way that we're looking at it for our purposes is the other usage, and it's talking about what I believe is this house, this kingdom that God is establishing. And so we're going to look at those references for getting a better understanding of what this is meant to be about. How can we understand it? So from the Exodus passage, what can we learn about this? What can we learn about the houses from this passage? It was in the houses of the children of Israel, but it was not given to the land of Egypt.
Is that a shadow of the things to come? The 3 days, like of darkness, and then Israel had light in their dwellings, so when he arose.
Yeah. That very well could be, because we've talked about how Scripture has multiple layers to it. So that's definitely a possible reference, a foreshadowing of our Messiah, being in the grave in darkness, living in the domain of darkness for those 3 days, and then eventually he's risen again. But the people of Israel, his people, they have light in their dwellings. All right, so one of the things that comes to my mind is that it's meant for the children of Israel.
It reminds me of, I've seen it in other verses where it refers to us being children of light. And the children of Israel are the ones with light in their dwellings.
Mm-hmm.
And we're supposed to be this city, you don't hide that light under a bushel.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're consistently referred to as the children of Israel having a light.
Yep. Very good.
So it's almost like a mark.
Yes. Yeah.
By whom you know where they belong.
Very good. Very good. So I forgot to mention we're primarily covering the Torah portion, or the Torah books, right? And Job, Psalms, and Proverbs, Ecclesiastes. So the wisdom and poetry literature. That's all the time we're going to have time to cover today. Next time we meet, we'll talk about where this word appears in the prophets, and then after that, in a separate teaching, we'll go through where we see this concept that we're learning here, and the next time we speak, where do we see that same concept appearing in the New Testament? So this is going to be fundamental for us to understand. It's going to be a building block. We're just kind of setting the stage for understanding its later usage. So we're gathering descriptors of this light, this word for light, that's or. All right. So the light is meant for the children of Israel, right, in their dwellings, and the darkness was given to the people of the world. Let's look at Numbers chapter 6, verse 25.
The Lord make his face shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee.
This is part of the Aaronic blessing. When God wanted to bless the people, he told Moses and Aaron, hey, this is how you are to do it. And the second line is, makes use of this word for or. The Lord make his face to shine, to or, upon you. So I like what you said earlier. It's kind of like, it's kind of referencing like a mark in a way, right? So we'll just call it a mark. Yeah, like a seal. Okay. Right, because later on in that Aaronic blessing, he talks about, so you will put my name upon the people, right? Through this section of verses. Yeah. So it's an identifying mark, like a seal. Okay. Now we're going to get into a little bit more abstract, right? So we have to definitely put our thinking caps on. Let's go to Job chapter 24 and read verses 13 through 16. Job has several different references to this concept of or, and I find it very useful for helping us understand the different aspects of the house. What does it look like? What does it help us do? What is this all about?
They are those that rebel against the light. They know not the ways thereof, nor abide in the paths thereof. The murderer rising with the light kills the poor and needy, and in the night is as a thief. The eye also of the adulterer waits for the twilight, saying, no eye shall see me, and disguises his face. In the dark they dig through houses which they had marked for themselves. In the daytime they know not the light.
So you can learn a lot, right, from what it's not. So one of the things that it's talked about, it's describing it's describing the house of darkness, and that there's murderers here. It talks about thieves. It talks about rebels, right? They rebel against the light. It says they do not know the light. It also called them adulterers. I apologize if my spelling's off. I'm not the best speller in the world. But, okay, so...
They also hide their face.
They hide their face from the light?
No eye shall see me and disguises his face.
Okay, so hide or disguises.
He wears a mask.
Yeah.
What is that last word that you want?
Appearance. Yeah, disguises his appearance.
Deception.
Yeah. All of that can, you're a murderer, a thief, you're a rebel, adulterer. Yeah, we can put deception in there too.
Says they dig through houses, so they plunder.
Yep. So yeah, the thieves, right? That's describing the thieves. So they're digging. In some ways, they're destroying, right? So they're destroying.
When you put the appearance, that makes me think of wolves in sheep's clothing.
Yeah. There you go.
Become rebels
Yeah.
against the light. Yeah.
Yep, they've become rebels against the light. Very good. All right. Okay, so, all right.
Well, it says that they didn't remain in his paths, so unfaithful.
Yeah, adulterers. Yep. So that would fall under adulterers. Yeah. So they abandoned the path of the light.
Yeah.
That's falling under rebels. But I think that's an interesting addition because that concept is going to come up later on. Abandon path of light. So they're rebels against the light. They abandon the path of light. Okay. Anything else? Okay, we can always come back to it if we think of something else. The cool thing about having different versions or pulling from different versions is that it gives you a variety of usage in the English, so we can come up with a more comprehensive picture. All right, let's go to Job chapter 29 and read verses 2 through 3.
Oh, that I were as in months past, as in the days when Eloah protected me, when his lamp shone on my head, when I walked in the dark by his light.
When I read this in the ESV, right, he is walking according to the light in the darkness, through the darkness. As I was reading it, I felt like it was being revealed to me, right, this light, right, is understanding of his ways. And that's what Job had in his mind. He was living in this world of darkness, in this kingdom of darkness, but he understood the ways of light, and he had that in knowledge, in understanding on his mind as he was going through this world of darkness. And he was longing for the days when that protected him, when Yahweh was protecting him, because he had the knowledge, the understanding of the light on his mind. That was what was coming to me when I was reading that verse, that set of verses in the ESV. So what can we pull from that 2-verse section as to what this house of light looks like?
The light pushes through the darkness, or it holds back the darkness.
Okay.
That's what I get when I read it, passing through the darkness. Like you're surrounded by darkness, but this light holds it back through your path.
Almost like light for the step you're on, but not 10 steps ahead. Like the light is where you are.
Okay.
So he gives you, because kind of what I'm pulling from it is he gives you light and understanding for where you're at right now.
Yeah. Wherever you are.
Someone said protection.
Yep. Protection. Right. It's protection through the midst of darkness, right? You've got that understanding. Okay. Anything else? Okay.
So you said protection in darkness while...
Okay. Protection in darkness. Okay. All right. Let's go on to the next one. Job 33, verses 28 through 30.
He has redeemed my being from going down to the pit, and my life sees the light. See, El does all these twice, 3 times with a man, to bring back his being from the pit, to be enlightened with the light of the living.
So in this house, you are redeemed from darkness, or from the pit, right? Mm-hmm. Which is also death. Right? So it's the house of the living, right? Would you agree?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. So then this would be the house of the dead, or the pit, right? Sheol. Anything else? Okay. Let's go on to the next one. Job 38:15.
And from the wicked their light is withheld, and the high arm shall be broken.
From the wicked, the light will be withheld. Okay, so in this kingdom of darkness,
My version says their light.
their light is withheld?
Yes.
Okay. So okay.
That's what mine says too, different version.
The ESV says their light as well.
All right, so their light is withheld. And their arms will be broken? Or their strength will be broken?
The high arm shall be broken.
The high arm shall be broken.
ESV says uplifted arm.
Okay. Right.
Same.
In Hebrew, doesn't hand and arm the same word? And couldn't it also mean authority?
It's possible. Yeah, it could mean authority. It could potentially mean authority. So if this is the house of the living, right, the light, their life is being withheld in the kingdom of darkness, in the house of darkness. Okay. All right. Let's go to same chapter, Job 38, and read verse 17 and 19 through 20.
Have the gates of death been opened unto you, or have you seen the doors of the shadow of death? Where is the way where light dwells, and as for darkness, where is the place thereof? That you should take it to the bound thereof, and that you should know the path to the house thereof.
So it describes each as having a dwelling place or being a dwelling place. It says, it talks about the gates of darkness. So it has a gate. Each one has a gate or an entrance. It talks about a path.
So you get a choice. Which house do you want to live in?
Absolutely. Absolutely. God only created two houses at the beginning. Everything else falls underneath one of those. Okay. Let's go to same chapter, Job 38, verse 24.
Where is the way that light is divided, or the east wind scattered over the earth?
Does someone have a different word for divided?
Which one is she reading?
Job 38, 24.
Oh,
Mine says, by what way is the light parted, which scatters the east wind upon the earth?
Okay.
that says distributed.
Distributed. That's the word I was looking for. I mean, it can mean similar things, right? But you want to get the fuller picture. So what does it say again? Where is the...
Where is the way that light is divided or distributed,
Right.
or the east wind scattered over the earth?
Okay. So it's expressing, Yahweh to Job is expressing that this light has a need to be distributed. Like where is it being distributed from? This, have you been there? Do you know where it's at? So there's a need for it to be distributed. Okay. Does anyone else get anything different from that? Or anything else that we've covered so far? Anything else to stick out? Okay. Let's go to the Psalms. Psalm chapter 4, verse 6.
Many are saying, who would show us good? Yahuwah, lift up the light of your face upon us.
So we've covered a lot of the description about the house of light and the house of darkness. And the psalmist is asking, based on his knowledge, right? Who's going to show us some good? Lift up your face upon us. So it's going back to the original meaning. What is good? What was the first thing that was good? It was the light of his face, right? That identifying mark, or that intimacy. That's something else. Intimacy with Yahweh, right? Because you see the face of someone that you are close to. So we'll add that to it. Okay. He's the one that shows you good. All right. Let's look at Psalm 27, verse 1.
Yahuwah is my light and my Yeshua, whom shall I fear? Yahuwah is the strength of my life, and whom shall I be afraid?
Okay. Does somebody else have anything different for that verse?
Yahuwah is my light and my deliverance. Whom should I fear? Yahuwah is the refuge of my life. Whom should I dread?
Of whom shall I dread? Okay. So, one of the things that stuck out to me when I read this verse, right? This is a psalm of David. David is considered a prophet. David says that the Lord is my light and my salvation. Okay? And then he says, the Lord is my life and my refuge, right? Or my refuge and my life, right? Which one is first? Is it refuge and life?
He's the refuge of my life.
The refuge of my life. Okay, so when I read this, I saw it in parallel. David is equating the light to his Wait, no. Sorry. Read the first half again. I'm sorry. Read the whole verse again.
Yeshua is my light,
Light.
and my Yeshua,
Salvation.
or salvation.
That's right.
Whom shall I fear?
Okay. So light is the refuge. It's a place of refuge. And the salvation is life. Right. So you have the light equals, right, so the refuge equals light. And you have salvation being paralleled with life. Does that make sense? He's paralleling the light with the place of refuge. He's paralleling the salvation with life.
And only salvation can be found in Yahuwah.
And only salvation can be found in, right, absolutely.
I think there's, I like the way this one says, instead of salvation, it says my deliverance.
Yeah,
Because it's similar, means a similar thing, but deliverance seems a little bit more of an active term. That it was an action. You didn't just, something, you were delivered from something.
rescued.
You were rescued from something.
Yeah.
It's a...
From this place, maybe?
Right. So it just seems like there's a little bit more
Depth.
depth there.
Right. But yes, Ruth.
I think deliverance does sound like a stronger word, but when we think about salvation, think about where were we? We were in a pit, and we
Right.
were saved from that pit. We were saved from the jars of death.
Yep.
So even though deliverance does sound like a stronger word, but they really are the same word.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. That's what I was trying to say. If they sound the same, but
Right.
I don't know. It just gives another layer.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Does it make sense that we're contrasting the house of light with the place of refuge? Does that... Yes.
I'd like you to expound on that a little bit more. Why would you contrast the two? Like, bring it out a little bit more. Why?
So if you're looking at poetry, right? You have so he's talking about refuge, right? That's the light is first, right? So light is 1, and then the salvation is 2, right? So that's like the first stanza of this poetry, right? And then the second stanza, you have refuge or stronghold as 1, and then my life is 2, right? So does that make
that way? Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't really sure how
Yeah.
you were,
So
what you were using for that. Okay.
Does that make
I get
okay?
it. I was kind of thinking like, or I was wondering if you meant like, a place of refuge would have a light, so that way you'll know where to go. So I wasn't sure if that's what you know.
That might be getting into the New Testament usage.
Okay.
And by might, I mean it is.
Okay.
But we're not there yet. We're building on it.
Okay.
So yes, you're along the right track. You're along the right track. This is going to help build that foundation that we need to further understand its usage later on. Okay.
So you're saying the salvation is the cornerstone of this house?
That that might follow. That might follow. That's going into the prophets, man. You're going into the prophets. We're not there yet. That's right. Okay. All right. Let's look at Psalm 43:3.
Send out your light and your truth. Let them lead me. Let them bring me to your holy hill and to your dwelling.
Okay, so he's partnering the light and truth. Okay? So light plus truth. And let them lead me to your holy hill and to your dwelling place. Right? So you have light is like a territory, right? So we'll say it's a territory. It kind of covered it up here a little bit. But let's just we're building onto it. So light is a territory, the holy hill, and then the truth gets you into the dwelling place. The truth gets you into the dwelling place. Yeah. All right. So light plus truth. The truth
All kinds of shades of Pilgrim's Progress in that one. Truth gets you into the dwelling place.
There we go. Truth gets you into the dwelling place. Okay. Anything else? All right. Let's look. So,
Question?
Yes. Yeah.
So, even though it says, okay, when you think of it as poetry, it makes more sense than when you just read it just out like this. Because when you read it the way how it's written here, just reading it just to read its sake, it makes it seem as though the dwelling place and the holy hill are two different places. But I don't believe that that's actually the truth, that they're not two separate places. It's just
They
the way how
are
it's written.
and they aren't.
Okay.
Outer court, inside the house.
Okay.
Same general location, but one is more specific than the next.
So the holy hill would the holy hill would be the inner court, and the dwelling place is the whole thing.
Holy.
No. So
is it the opposite
the holy hill.
Oh, okay.
The holy hill is the all-encompassing territory.
Oh, so that's the big,
and the dwelling place,
is
right?
the
The house.
Okay.
That's where that's the place of intimacy. That's the place
Okay.
of family.
Okay. Thank you for clearing that up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So we'll add on to here, right? The reserved for family. Does that follow? Reserved for family. The dwelling place is reserved for family.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? This is fun. All right, let's go to Psalm 56:13.
For you have delivered my soul from death. Will not you deliver my feet from falling, that I may walk before Elohim in the light of the living?
All right. So it's touching back on some of these other themes that we've talked about. But one of the concepts that I thought was brought out that was slightly different is this idea that we're supposed to walk before Him in this territory. God wants us to walk here before Him in this territory. So we need to walk before Yahweh in the light. Okay. Let's go to Psalm 89 and read verses 15 through 18.
Blessed is the people that know the joyful sound. They shall walk, O Yahuwah, in the light of your countenance. In your name shall they rejoice all the day, and in your righteousness shall they be exalted. For you are the glory of their strength, and in your favor our horn shall be exalted. For Yahuwah is our defense, and the Holy One of Yisrael is our King.
Amen. So what can we pull out of this section of verses to add? Because it touched on some other themes, but can we add anything from it to this list?
Joy.
Joy, yep. So it's a place of joy.
Blessing.
Okay, blessing.
Righteousness.
Righteousness, yeah.
Glory. Strength. Favor.
Glory, strength, favor.
Sounds like a wonderful place.
It sounds like a wonderful place to live. Absolutely.
Our King.
Yeah, the place of our King? Okay, yep.
He's the head of the house.
Yep, head of house.
That's his rule.
Yeah, I mean, if he's the one who established it, right? So that makes sense. That follows. Yes.
What do you have after strength?
Favor. Yep.
Flavor.
Favor, not flavor.
Are you hungry like that?
All right. Anything else? What's that?
Defense.
Defense. Yeah, it's the place of our defense. Okay. Defense wins championships. That's right. Okay. Let's move on. Psalm 97, verse 11.
Light is sown for the righteous, and the joy for the upright in heart.
Light is sown for the righteous, and the joy for the upright in heart. Psalm 97:11. Okay, so when It's something that needs to be sown, right? And we talked about it needs to be distributed. So we can add to this concept, right, of needs to be distributed. It's sown.
So
right?
Seed.
Like a seed. Sounds familiar, right? Sounds familiar?
Gladness instead of joy.
Gladness? Instead, okay. I like it. So, yeah.
Upright heart.
Yep, upright in heart. Yes. Sown like a seed. Heart. I probably do. Being left-handed and doing it from this angle is challenging. But oh, okay. No, just kidding. I figured. When I saw this, I thought it was fascinating. It's sown for the righteous. Like the purpose. It belongs to the righteous. It's sown for the purpose of the righteous, for those who are upright in heart. I like it. That it needs to be distributed. Right? Okay. Let's build on it. Psalm 104, verses 1 through 2.
Bless the Lord, O my soul. O Lord my God, you are very great. You are clothed with splendor and majesty, covering yourself with light as with a garment, stretching out the heavens like a tent.
So this territory, right, this place, it's for the joy, there's blessing, there's righteousness, there's glory, there's strength, there's favor. It's a place of defense. It's worn as a covering, as a garment. That sounds pretty cool, huh? Mm-hmm. Our king, the head of house, what is it? Majesty, right? Glory, splendor. Was that what we read? Majesty and splendor?
Honor and majesty.
Mine says excellency and splendor.
Okay.
Honor and majesty.
All right.
I was going to be upset if the House of Darkness had more to say than.
Yeah, well, it's a battle going back and forth, right? But I mean, it's no surprise, right, that the scriptures have a lot of description on what it should look like and what it shouldn't look like. Yahweh is a teacher. He's teaching us if we have eyes to see and ears to hear. Having the right lens helps. We need the right lens to help us understand what is being communicated. And that's where, hermeneutics can definitely help, right? The law of first mention. The first place it's mentioned, or, is in Genesis 1, and you just follow it down the scriptures, and it is very revealing. Yes, Ruth?
When you said that, I thought about the scripture that says, in seeing they don't see, hearing they don't hear. It's not that it's not there.
Right.
But you have to look at it from the right angle, and you have to be open to what the Spirit is saying through
Right.
the Word.
That what is it? Their light is withheld. Those who live in darkness, the light is withheld. All the things that are good in the world, they don't have that understanding. Right? It's twisted. It's corrupted because they have a rebellious heart. They'd rather do their own thing.
They don't have humility.
Right.
Lies in their own eyes.
Oh, we'll get to that. Okay. Psalm 112. Honestly, when I read this section, this psalm, like the light appears in it, very briefly, but the way that it appears, it's just like, okay, I got to read the whole thing. And when you read the whole thing, it's like, oh my gosh, it's like almost everything we've been talking about to this point. Psalm 112, verses 1 through 10. So we're going to read the whole psalm, and Yeah, see what it says.
Praise the Lord. Blessed is the man who fears the Lord, who greatly delights in his commandments. His offspring will be mighty in the land. The generation of the upright will be blessed. Wealth and riches are in his house, and his righteousness endures forever. Light dawns in the darkness for the upright. He is gracious, merciful, and righteous. It is well with the man who deals generously and lends, who conducts his affairs with justice. For the righteous will never be moved. He will be remembered forever. He is not afraid of bad news. His heart is firm, trusting in the Lord. His heart is steady. He will not be afraid until he looks in triumph on his adversaries. He has distributed freely. He has given to the poor. His righteousness endures forever. His horn is exalted in honor. The wicked man sees it and is angry. He gnashes his teeth and melts away. The desire of the wicked will perish.
I had to go back and read the whole psalm, and then I had to read it again. Because I'm like, wait a minute, is this alluding to Yeshua? Or is this alluding to the ideal man in the house of the Lord? And I think the answer is yes. But it resonated with me that this is, I think, the best description for how the righteous people ought to be in this house, how they ought to behave, right? It talked about the concept of distributing, right? He gives freely. It's this light, it's this seed, right? The parable of the sower. He's sowing the seed. We're not there yet, but there's allusions to it. There were several parables that we covered in months past about those who were weeping and gnashing of teeth because they were outside in the courtyard or even further out, because they thought they were a son of righteousness, but their hearts proved otherwise. Their actions proved otherwise, and there was weeping and gnashing of teeth. The wicked, right, they're weeping and gnashing their teeth because they see this man and how he conducts his affairs in justice, in righteousness, in uprightness of heart, how he gives to the poor and needy, distributes to those who are needing it. And his, what's that verse again? The light of dawn?
Yeah. It says, that is verse 4. It says, light dawns in the darkness for the upright. He is gracious, merciful, and righteous.
Light dawns in the darkness. Going back to what Job was talking about, right? That light was dawning on his head as he's walking through darkness. So we can take this house, we can bear this mark wherever we go, even if we are in darkness, right? Almost like an ambassador. But we're not there yet. All right. There's so much to add, as you can see, I'm out of space.
This goes into maybe a little bit of what we talked about, being a good steward.
Yeah. Yes, for sure. You do have to be a good steward, and this man shows himself as conducting his affairs well, and being he's giving to those who are in need, right? And so. We'll try and add a little bit here. So there's justice. It's a place of justice, right? Giving. What else haven't we covered yet?
Did you say merciful already?
Merciful. Yep. We got to add that.
And gracious, righteous. Have that all already.
His wealth and riches are in his house, in the house of light.
Yep. Wealth and riches. That's, yes.
He's trusting in Yahweh.
Wealth and, yep, so he's trusting.
Steadfast.
Steadfast? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So this righteous man, this one who's upright in heart, right? The wealth and riches are there. He's steadfast. That's when you take that concept back, right? The steadfastness, right? Merciful, long-suffering. That's how Yahweh describes himself to Moses when he's first revealing direct words about his character. I am, steadfast love. I am merciful. I am long-suffering. So the same characteristics that Yahweh possesses are the same characteristics that he's looking for in the family members of his house. Yes?
There's one more that we haven't mentioned.
Okay.
Triumph over adversaries.
Triumph over adversaries. There we go. Love it.
Somewhere you're going to get to, we are God with the Father, one.
What's that?
So maybe I'm jumping ahead or something, but somewhere you're going to get to where we are God with the Father, we are one.
That is a concept, yes, that I want to get to in the when we get to the prophets, because I think there is some truth in the works of Judaism in my research that came out of this preparing for this message, and it's too big of a concept to just brush over. It needs some more stage time, if you will. So we're going to let this marinate. But yes, we are going to get to that concept and our role in that. And it's, to me, it's pretty profound. But we've got to establish the base so that we can get to that. So when we talk about it, it's going to make a lot more sense. Is there anything else that we can pull out of that? I mean, like I said, we could probably do a whole sermon on just Psalm 112.
It's almost like Psalm 112 needs to be taught as the model citizen of this house.
Yeah.
Model citizen of this kingdom.
Right.
This needs to be the,
Yeah.
like, do you meet these standards?
Yeah. This is
the
what
fruit in your life.
right. This is what he's looking for. It's funny that you say it like that, because this is the part that I was having a discussion with my wife about the other day. When you research about Caesar Augustus and what he did, right, after taking over as the emperor of Rome. So years prior, the Roman Empire was embroiled in civil war. Lots of people were fighting for control over who was going to rule the republic. And Caesar Augustus ended up winning out. Well, some of the problems that the Roman Empire, that the Roman Republic was facing, was just a lack of morals. They go figure, right? Rome lacking morals. And one of the things that Caesar did was, along with many of his reforms, he implemented moral reforms in addition to laws. But like, hey, this is the code. This is the kind of people that Roman citizens need to be like. And one thing in particular that stood out to me, before him, there was no law against adultery. But he implemented a law that said, there would be a punishment for adultery. And not only did he believe that, and to the point that he made it a law in his nation, he believed it internally, because his own daughter committed adultery and she was exiled from the empire. She was taken out of, because she committed adultery. And so you have this concept of Roman moral reform. And as part of that moral reform, he created a monument, and I forget the name of it, but on that monument, they chiseled out in stone the ideal Roman family. This is what the ideal Roman family looks like, and this is the ideal, behaviors of a Roman citizen. So it's like, where do you get that from? Mm-hmm. You need the model up there to show people, what to live up to. What's the goal in life? So yeah, absolutely. So the way that you said that, this is the model. It made me think of that. Obviously, Caesar Augustus in his reforms, it was a twist. To Rome's benefit, and Yahweh has done the same. He's the original. Everything that Yahweh does, he's the first to do it. You know what I mean? As far as all things good, and then the house of darkness, is a copycat or a corrupter. They can't necessarily invent things on their own. It's just it's plagiarism. It's corrupted versions of the original. But you have to know the original so that you can identify all of the corruptions. If you don't know what the original is supposed to look like, you'll be fooled by any and every deception. Isn't that, up here, it's the house of darkness, the deception? Yes.
And that goes back to what I was saying earlier in our discussion, that delusion.
Yeah.
And how mixing the light with the darkness, it creates a picture that looks like the real deal. But then the ultimate goal is for darkness to win.
Absolutely. Yeah. The darkness has an agenda, and so does the light. The light has its own agenda. And it's important that we recognize that there is a choice and a very big difference between the two. Because, as was mentioned earlier, there's no transition houses between light and dark and light. You're in one or the other, right? So you have to be careful, like as I asked my son to do over here, right? These little pictures of little houses, right? There's multiple houses that are made up in each kingdom. So you might find yourself going from one little shanty to another little shanty inside the same kingdom. That doesn't mean you change citizenships yet. It just means you changed locations within the same territory. So it's important that you understand what the authentic is, what the original is. So that way, when you recognize it, you know you're in the right place. Or if you don't, if it doesn't look like this thing, then you're not where you need to be yet.
There are many mansions in my Father's house.
Stop it, we're not there yet. Yes, there are many mansions, many rooms in the Father's house. Yes. All right. Let's go to Psalm 119, 105. I mean, this one is probably well known by most folks in this circle.
Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path.
We're going to have to make more room here for the house of light, right?
Move over, house of darkness.
Move over, house of darkness. That's right. Make way for the King of glory. Okay, so it's relating to the word, right? So you have the word is lamp. And what else?
A light unto my path.
Right, so the word is a lamp unto feet, light unto path. So we definitely want to make sure we have that one in there because this is important. This theme is going to come up in here shortly. Okay, let's go to. Does anyone want to add anything to that or have anything they want to say on this one?
I think I'd like you to expound a little bit on the difference between having a lamp for your feet and a light for your path.
Okay. Going back to first mention, right, if you will, for lamp. The first mention for lamp, from my understanding, right? One more. Is the menorah. The menorah was in the temple, right? So it's in the dwelling place of the Lord, right? So this whole thing represents the lamp. Each one of these is a light. So it's one part of the lamp stand. So you have the lamp gives room or gives light to the whole house, right? And you carry it with you, right? Because there's some need for distribution, so it has to be mobile as well. Mm-hmm. So you have this concept of it is a massive territory, but it's also mobile. You take it with you everywhere you go, whether you're in this house or in this house, because as we've seen, there are times where we walk through darkness, but the way that we navigate through this house is by having that light close at hand, and avoiding being overcome by the darkness. Does that make sense?
Somewhat. I think, and I could be wrong about this, that is somewhat poetic in terms of listing it like two separate things, but they're really the same. The lamp for the feet and a light to the path. Because what do you walk with? You walk with your feet.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to go through your path, like, you need your feet. So to me, it just seems like the same thing is repeated, but in a different way.
It is poetry. It is poetry. So yes, you're absolutely right. And there are many layers to it that we can add. Did you have something that you wanted to?
So I see it as the word is the instructions that gives you, that lights that path for you to take and follow.
Yeah. Okay, so it's lighting that path. Sure.
So in other words, it's not two separate things. It's not
right.
It's something and then a light is something else.
So
that's why.
I was going to say, the first thing that popped in my mind, a lamp to our feet, kind of like, a lighter.
Mm-hmm.
A lighter could be a lamp. Well, what does it produce?
It produces light.
It produces light.
Mm-hmm.
So if we have a lamp for our feet, what does that lamp for our feet do?
Well,
it provides light to our path.
So it goes back to, you're trying to focus on that lamp. It's the word you need to focus on, in my mind, not the lamp.
The way that I'm seeing it, like the maybe that's coming to me now, that'll hopefully elaborate or explain it better, right? So you have the part versus the whole, right? So the lamp is like the whole, just like we talked about, with the territory, right? The holy hill is the totality of the territory. The dwelling place is, very specific, right? It's a very specific place in that territory. And so the Word of God is made up of many different parts, right? And we've got to rightly divide the word of truth, right? Because truth is what gets us into that dwelling place, and it needs to be distributed. But when you think about how people are in different places in this house of darkness or on the journey to trying to come into the house of light, they get stuck in different things. And so giving them the whole word, they might not have time for it in their situation. You might have to just speak specifically to that situation, in which case you're giving them only one small part of that word, that larger word, right? So that you need that individual light. You're using wisdom. You're using wisdom and discernment based on knowing the totality, right? And finding which piece is needed for this person in their life. And what the proper distribution. Yeah, the proper distribution. The right tool for the right job. That's what you've got to, but you've got the whole toolkit. Ideally, you have the whole toolkit. You know how to use it, and based on the situation, determines the tool that you need to apply. The other thing that comes to my mind, we'll get to it, I think, maybe in this one or the next one, but it has to do with the path. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 4, verses 14 through 15, and then skip down and read 18 through 19.
Enter not into the path of the wicked, and go not in the way of evil men. Avoid it, pass not by it, turn from it, and pass away. But the path of the just is as the shining light, that shines more and more until the perfect day. The way of the wicked is as darkness. They know not at what they stumble. All
right, so in this path, the path of darkness, they stumble. They stumble. On this path, there's righteousness, there's justice, right? Does anyone feel like we can add anything to either house? Right? This is the place of the wicked. I think so evil, let's put wicked.
There's the fact that it shines ever brighter unto the perfect day. So it's an increasing.
Right. It's meant to increase, right? It's meant though there's an increasing aspect with a destination in mind, right? Until it shines,
into the perfect day.
Into the perfect day, right? So there's an increasing aspect and there's a destination aspect. As I was understanding the house of light, the concept of brightness, right? So it's brighter and brighter until the perfect day. I'm equating understanding with the brightness level. So the brightness level equals your understanding level.
How about you got to be on the right path?
Yep. Yeah, this is the path you want to be on, right? You want to be on the path that gets brighter and brighter, not on the one that causes you to stumble and you don't even know what it is you're tripping over.
I believe the light increases because your path narrows. You need more light to see a more narrow path.
Yeah. You definitely need to have that light closer to you. The further the light is on if you were in talking like a hallway or whatever, if my hallway was only this big, I definitely need that light directly over me. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, there's going to be a lot of room for shadows.
So maybe it's your position in relation to the light.
I think that all that can make.
Because you have the same amount of light and it's coming from the end of the...
Maybe. I don't know.
My mind's having a hard time with that one.
Yeah.
The way I see it is the beginning of your walk, your path is this wide. So you need a lamp that lights it up, but the more you walk, the more narrow it gets and it's easy to get off of.
Or the more, yeah.
You need a brighter light. Y'all don't have to understand it.
Okay. You don't have to get it. You just have to get it, right? Is that what you're saying? All right.
So the more you stay on the path, the brighter the light gets.
Yes. Right. So an increasing aspect of destination, the longer you stay on the path.
I'm just waiting for the next one. Yes.
All right. Let's go to the next one then.
Because it answers my question.
Okay.
Kind of.
Awesome. Yeah. Proverbs 6, verses 20 and 23 through 24.
My son, keep your father's commandment and forsake not your mother's teaching. For the commandment is a lamp and the teaching a light. And the reproofs of discipline are the way of life, to preserve you from the evil woman, from the smooth tongue of the adulteress.
The lamp is the commandments of the father, and the light is the teaching of the mother. Who is the mother? The Ruach HaKodesh. Okay, the Holy Spirit. All right. If you go to, like I said, I brought it out in my notes, so it's a good place to fit here, right? So if you go to Galatians chapter 4, I think it's 26, somewhere in there, Paul is just talking about covenants, right? And so he equates the bondwoman and the free woman. So Hagar, the slave woman, gave birth to the bond son, right? But Sarah, the free woman, gave birth to the son of promise. So the slave gave birth to the son of flesh, and the free gave birth to the son of promise. And you have he equates Hagar with Mount Sinai, which is the covenant that they're currently in, and he equates Sarah with New Jerusalem, the Jerusalem above, which is the mother of us all. So he says, so this territory, this specific territory, Jerusalem above, the Jerusalem above, is the mother that's of the free woman. But the Jerusalem of the present, so his present day Jerusalem, is the mother of the slave, right? So the Jerusalem of his day in the flesh was of the slave woman, but the Jerusalem of above, that's the mother of us, the children of promise, the free woman.
That right there is so deep,
isn't it? Right? When you talk about all of this, right? So this idea, right? Listen to the commands, obey the commands of your father, and the teachings of your mother, right? So you have the father who's the head of the house, right? He's the one who established it. Who enforces the rules in the house? The father sets the rules, and he'll implement punishments as needed, right? But the mother has a role to play as well. She's an enforcer. Absolutely. She is multi-talented. The woman is multi-talented. Yes. She is a teacher. Hey, children, this is the ways of the house. So when the father's away doing business, we're still going to keep the ways of the house. So she's an instructor. Torah is an instructor, right? Torah is a tutor for us. Homeschool at its best. She's at home. She guards it. Okay, so teaching is the mother, the commandments of the father. So when you see teaching, you're thinking mother, and that's, this is where it gets, to me it's deep, and you definitely have to have that layer upon layer, line upon line, precept upon precept concept, that the Jerusalem is the bride, right? It's a form of government. What type of government is it? It's the government that was established by Yahweh. The rules of the house. Patriarchy, yeah. So it's important that when you're talking about the teachings of the mother, you're talking about government that is established in righteousness and justice. Because there's a lot of freedom in Torah. There is. It is the law of liberty. As long as you are keeping it, as long as you are operating within the left and right limits of Torah, there is a lot of freedom. And things might be lawful for you, but not all things are beneficial for you. So it's important that you have that discernment, that just because you can do something doesn't mean that you should do something. Different people have different strengths and weaknesses. Not everybody is the same. We are different parts of the same body. So the hand can't do what the eye can do, right? So it shouldn't try to be an eye, and vice versa. So, know your role. You've got to know your role in this house. And having a good teacher can help you understand your place in the world, your place in this house of light. Let's move on to...
Add to the house of darkness.
Okay, yeah. What?
It says tongue of flattery.
Tongue of flattery? Okay, so let's we'll put that with deception. So if the righteous government of God, of the house of light, is our mother, right? That's instructing us in how to live in this house of light. Who is the foolish woman? Who is the deceptive woman? The woman of the adulterous woman that the house of light, right? That our mother is trying to rescue us from.
Man's wisdom.
Man's wisdom, man's ways, yeah. Who is personified as the foreign woman, the evil woman?
The harlot.
Okay, more specifically. We'll not go there. Babylon. Right? Jerusalem is like the mother, right? You have Babylon is the strange woman. Right? So this is, so we'll say Jerusalem. Right? Jerusalem above. And then this is Babylon. Or her daughters. She's described as having daughters.
Both.
Yeah.
Have daughters.
They do. You're right. Jerusalem above, her daughters. So you have a city. Sometimes you have a large, metropolitan city, like somewhere like New York, L.A., Chicago, those big places. And then you have something that's a little bit smaller. Indianapolis would probably be a good reference. It's definitely not as big as a Chicago or a New York. Yeah, there you go. Right. So there you have, or like the capital, right? You have the capital. Washington, D.C. is the capital of the United States. That would be representative of the whole, right? And then you have these other capitals, these other smaller places. Okay, let's go to Proverbs 13, verse 9.
The light of the righteous rejoices, but the lamp of the wicked shall be put out.
The light of the righteous rejoices, right? So the teachings of the righteous rejoices, okay? So the teachings of the righteous brings rejoicing. But the lamp, the command of the wicked will be put out. Yeah, so let's see.
Can I read that another way and see if it makes sense or adds anything?
Sure.
The understanding of the righteous rejoices, but the reasoning of the wicked is put out.
So, man's wisdom versus God's wisdom?
Well, not even that, just the understanding. The light brings understanding, but
Yeah.
but the wicked, even their reasoning is darkened.
Yeah.
Their ability to reason is darkened.
That makes sense for our culture in today's, that we're faced with when we can't, identify genders unless we're a biologist.
Exactly. We're incredibly confused.
Right.
However, it's really the reasoning has been darkened.
Right. Yeah. So,
You're being unreasonable.
Let's shed some light on the subject.
almost like, God gives you over to a debased mind because
Yes.
but that's New Testament. We're not getting into that.
Yes. We're feeling it though.
Feeling it. All right. Okay. Let's go. Are we able to go? Was that 13:9? Yeah. Okay. Let's go to the next one then. Proverbs chapter 16, verses 15 through 16.
In the light of a king's face there is life, and his favor is like the clouds that bring the spring rain. How much better to get wisdom than gold. To get understanding is to be chosen rather than silver.
The king's favor, right, is equated to clouds that bring rain. Okay, so, and in this house, right, wisdom is better than gold, and silver, or no, yeah, and understanding is better than silver, right? Anything else? Okay. Let's look at Ecclesiastes 2, verse 13.
Then I saw that wisdom is better than folly, as light is better than darkness.
So you have over here wisdom, which is equated with the light.
Right. And then folly
And
is
folly.
equated with darkness.
Folly is equated with darkness. Okay. Last one. Ecclesiastes 11:7.
Light is sweet, and it is pleasant for the eyes to see the sun.
The light is sweet and pleasant.
Almost gives you the feeling of sunbathing. When you're like, oh, soaking up that sunshine.
There you go. There you go.
Soaking up the sweetness and the goodness.
Yeah, right. When you're surrounded by it in this territory, right? In this place of understanding, this place of wisdom, this place of protection from the darkness, right? It's life-giving. It gives life, and it's life-giving. What else? Is there anything else that you guys can think of, right? Just pulling from half of the Old Testament, if you will. We're not through the other half with all the prophets. Right? Is there anything else that you can think of that comes to mind based on what we've talked about for how to describe the house of light or the house of darkness? Yes.
Unpleasant. The darkness is unpleasant.
Yeah, it would be unpleasant and maybe bitter.
I was going to say that. Yeah, the opposite of sweet is bitter. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Going back to the Psalm 112, 1 through 10, right? He's giving life, right? Versus the house of darkness, they're murderers. The person in the house of light gives freely, distributes freely, versus this one robs and plunders, steals, right? Yeah.
One thing that comes to mind is the house of the light is structure and order.
Mm-hmm.
The house of darkness is chaos and derelict.
Okay, so so structure, order. This is chaotic. We talked about stewardship, right? So there's stewardship involved. So faithful steward. So the adulterer, unfaithful steward. When I thought about path, it makes me think of service. The path that you're on, right? The works that you do informs in whose service you are employed, right? You're either on the path of righteousness, in which case you are serving the King of light, or you're on the path of darkness, in which case you are serving the king of darkness.
Or you're serving yourself.
Right, you're serving yourself, in which case you're setting up an idol, right? Yourself can be an idol. Anything that's placed above the true King of Kings is an idol.
I don't know why it's reminding me so much, but as we've been reading through Samuel, something that has stuck out to me again and again is when people address someone in authority, they refer to themselves as, they'll say their name, and then they'll say, your servant. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I am Rebecca, I'm Micah's wife, I'm your wife. It's like they immediately, part of their name, it's like attached to their name, their role,
Yeah.
who they submit to.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And like I said, I don't know why it's sticking out so much, but you're talking about, you know, you're a servant of one or you're servant of the other. There's almost like that's an identity.
Yeah, right. It's an identifying mark or
Yes,
seal,
yes.
or we'll say identity, right? Because that's a little bit different than identifying.
Right, yeah.
So we'll just say
it's an identity. That you identify as a servant of this kingdom.
identity, because identity is huge, right? We talked about that last week. That the children of God need to be reminding God of His promises to them, not because He's forgotten, but so that because it's a way of informing the King. These people know their identity. A son of God, a child of God, is going to know the ways of God. They're going to know the rules in the house of God. They're going to follow them. That becomes our identity, right? And so our identity is something that we take with us everywhere we go. Like you would take the light with you, even in the house, even in a place of darkness.
Right.
So that identity follows you, whether you're in this house or you're in this house trying to get somebody out.
Right.
And it's a covenant relationship.
It's a covenant. Yeah, absolutely. So this is you're a part of one covenant or another. I like it. So there's covenant. With that concept, it reminds me of C.S. Lewis's The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, when Edmund had betrayed his brother and sisters to the wicked queen, and she presents herself to Aslan and says, "You know, it's written that every traitor belongs to me." Like, that's part of the covenant. Every traitor of this house automatically becomes a member in this house. And it's that same concept of light and dark. So you're either in line, you're either in obedience. And so maybe we'll tie that here, right? Authority to rule and obedience. Contrasted with being a rebel against the light. In some form or fashion, you've rebelled against here, and now you are in covenant with this house of darkness. And the prophets, equate it to being a prisoner. You're a prisoner here. But we'll talk about that next time. Hopefully this was enlightening about the house of light versus the house of dark. Yes. No, the pun was definitely intended. So hopefully you got something out of it, and that you can think about it throughout your week. And maybe if you want to research on your own, this word "or" through the prophets and where it appears, it is very. You
didn't say the word for darkness.
Oh yeah, which one is that?
The one you have up there. What is it?
Covenant.
No, the
At the
Hebrew.
top, the
at
Hebrew.
the top.
Oh yeah, it's Hosek or Hoshek. I don't know. Yeah, I didn't do too much research into this portion, other than to write it up there for you. Mostly because I was interested in the Hebrew letters, and next time we meet, I want to talk about the meaning of the Hebrew letters and how it relates to what Mr. Harold had talked about. what he had said, because I think it's very fitting. But we needed to build on that concept with just getting the basics of what this house looks like versus what this house looks like. Because this is the model, right? This is the model that I think we are to follow. Because like Yeshua says, in my Father's house, there are many mansions. There are many rooms, right? It's his house, his kingdom is going to be made up of smaller houses.
Takes us to obedience brings blessings.
Yeah.
Disobedience brings punishments.
Right. Yes. So where we put that? Obedience. Yeah, we've got blessing on there somewhere. I know we do. Yes. Blessing. It brings blessing. Right. So then this would bring cursing. I like it. Hopefully this was a stimulating and fun exercise for you guys. I got a lot out of it, more so than what I could get on my own. So I definitely appreciate your contributions. Yes?
Obedience satisfies the terms and conditions of the covenant of light. Rebellion satisfies the terms and conditions of the house of darkness.
I like it. I think that follows. Then stands to reason. Awesome. Anything else? Okay. Well, like I said, no huge revelations other than just going through and outlining what it's about. So I appreciate you bearing with me and your participation. And until next time, Shabbat Shalom.